You wake up choking on the thick scent of smoke and mold. Your eyes sting before they even open. You're lying on a straw mattress that feels damp, itchy, and alive, not with comfort, but with bugs. You scratch instinctively, half awake, and hear the heavy breathing of strangers around you. A child coughs in the corner. Someone nearby shifts and releases a muffled groan. You sit up. It's still dark, but you can make out silhouettes, 7, maybe 8 other people, packed into a single room the size of your modern living room. You don't know all their names. You barely know 3. You're not family. You're neighbors. Poor ones. A rooster crows somewhere outside, muffled by layers of city noise. You realize the sun is rising, but you can't see it. The only window in this insular apartment is a slit no wider than your arm. Sunlight doesn't pour in, it trickles like pity. You stand, and the wooden floor beneath your feet shifts uncomfortably. You hope it doesn't collapse. The top floors of these cheaply built Roman apartment blocks are notorious for that. The higher you live, the poorer you are, and the more likely you are to die in your sleep, crushed by bricks. You fumble for your tunic. It's rough, smelly, and still damp with yesterday's sweat. You pull it over your head anyway. You reach for your leather sandals and shake out whatever insect decided to sleep in them last night. There's no toilet in your home. Just a shared chamber pot that someone emptied, hopefully, out the window before dawn. You gag slightly, remembering the stench that wafted in last night. You need to use the public latrine. It's 3 blocks away, and it's already filling up. You'll have to wait in line if you're too slow. You grab your belt, a rope, and knot it around your waist, tucking in a small blade. Not for hunting. For defense. You step outside and the city hits you like a slap to the face. Rome is alive. Chaotic. Loud. Filthy. Beautiful. You're immediately, by shouting, vendors setting up carts, slaves carrying water, soldiers barking orders, goats bleating, dogs fighting over scraps. The scent of baking bread mixes with rotting garbage. Somewhere nearby, someone empties another pot from a window. You step aside just in time. The street is narrow. Stone-paved but cracked and muddy. Sewage trickles through the gutter in the center. You avoid it, only to nearly trip over a beggar curled in a corner. His hand reaches for your leg. You don't stop. No one does. The public latrine is packed. 20 men sit shoulder to shoulder on a long marble bench with open holes. Beneath them, a stream of water carries away waste, at least in theory. You do your business quickly, trying not to gag at the smell and praying the sponge on a stick you use to wipe yourself doesn't have lice. You wash your hands at the nearest fountain, a lion head carved in stone spitting cold water into a basin. You drink. It's your first clean swallow of the day. Maybe your last. You're not a citizen. You don't own land. You don't vote. You work, if you're lucky, as a day laborer. The forum is where you go each morning, hoping someone needs help building something, carrying something, cleaning something. You walk there now. The sun is higher. The city is louder. Rome never really sleeps, but it roars to life with the sun. Market stalls open. Priests chant. Musicians play lyres. Children scream and chase each other between carts. You pass the shadow of the Colosseum, a monument of power, blood, and spectacle. It dwarfs everything else in sight. But it's not for you. You're too poor to buy a seat. You make it to the forum. It's already crowded. Men stand in clumps, faces dusty, expressions desperate. You join them. You wait. Minutes pass. Maybe hours. A foreman appears. Shouts in Latin. Points at a few of you. You're chosen. Relief. Today you're hauling bricks. The bathhouse under construction near the Aventine Hill needs labor. You're handed a strap for your forehead to help balance the load. You walk. Uphill. The bricks rattle. The strap digs into your skin. Your back already aches. The sun rises higher. By mid-morning, your tunic is soaked in sweat. You've made the trip 10 times now. Maybe 12. Your legs shake. You can't stop. Stopping means being replaced. Replaced means no pay. A merchant yells something crude at you as you pass. A slave drops a jug. It shatters near your feet. You flinch. Keep moving. You finally get a break. You collapse near a shady spot where workers sit chewing dried figs and crusty bread. You have bread too, stale, hard, but edible. You eat fast. No one talks much. Everyone's too tired. The afternoon drags. You carry more bricks. Then water jugs. Then sandbags. Each trip blurs into the next. Finally, the foreman calls it. You're done. Paid half a denarius. You don't count it. You just nod and walk. You pass the market again on your way home. You stop to buy a small hunk of goat cheese and a bruised apple. That's dinner. You consider visiting the public baths to soak, relax, maybe clean off some of this grime. But you'd rather save the coin. You can't afford indulgence. Not even for hygiene. You reach your building. Climb the steps slowly. Each footfall heavier than the last. The floor groans. Inside, it's dark and crowded again. You eat your cheese in silence. Chew the apple down to the core. Drink from a shared jug of wine that tastes like vinegar. You lie down on your straw sack. You stare at the ceiling. You wonder if it will fall tonight. And you sleep, not because you're ready, but because your body demands it. The next day begins the same. But today, something is off. There's shouting outside, more than usual. Angry voices. Urgent. You rise and rush to the window slit. Smoke is curling into the sky. Distant drums. Something burns, not just wood, something oily. Civil unrest? A riot? Rome is a powder keg. One spark, religious insult, corrupt official, grain delay, and the city erupts. You grab your satchel. It has nothing inside except a knife, a coin, and a half-loaf of bread. You slip it over your shoulder anyway. Instinct. In the alley below, 2 men argue in Greek. One throws a punch. The other draws a knife. You back away from the window. This is not your fight. But all of Rome's fights eventually come knocking. You descend the stairs carefully. On the 2nd floor, a woman screams behind a door. You don't stop. You can't. There's no help here. Only survival. You head toward the forum again. You need work. You need purpose. Something to keep you moving. You pass a statue of Jupiter, arms wide, eyes blank. Offerings of bread and flowers sit at its base, already wilting. You wonder if the gods ever actually notice. At the forum, the crowd is larger. Nervous. Soldiers are present. Not local watchmen, but real legionaries, armor shining, brows locked, hands gripping spears. You join a group of laborers pretending not to see them. Today there's work moving amphorae of oil from the port to a nearby villa. The jars are massive, awkward, slippery. One breaks during your first trip. A man screams at you. He threatens to deduct your pay. You bow your head. You say nothing. The sun climbs. You sweat. You bleed. You lift until your arms fail. The world smells of fish, piss, and oil. Your hands are raw. You drink from a barrel, uncertain if the water's clean. You don't care. On the walk back, you pass a man on a corner reading aloud from a scroll, poetry, maybe. A few stop to listen. You pause too, just long enough to forget your pain. He speaks of empire, of destiny, of the greatness of Rome. You look around. The marble columns, the engraved arches, the mosaics and frescoes, it is great. And it is terrible. Rome lifts its children high and watches them fall with equal indifference. You keep walking. In the afternoon, a parade of soldiers clatters past. Triumphant. Bloody. They chant the name of their general, a conqueror from the northern provinces. Behind them, carts rattle, carrying stolen treasure and chained prisoners. The crowd cheers. You can't look away. One of the prisoners is a boy, maybe 12. Filthy. Terrified. He locks eyes with you for a second. Just one. And in that moment, you see your own fear mirrored there. You return to your building. The stair creaks worse today. Something small and furry darts past your foot. You don't flinch. Inside, your corner is gone. Another family has taken it. You argue. Loudly. Someone pushes you. You push back. It almost turns violent. But it doesn't. Someone tosses you a blanket and says, "Sleep in the hall." So you do. You lie there, back against the cold stone, staring at a ceiling painted with soot and cobwebs. And you realize. This isn't just poverty. This is Rome. This is every day. The next morning you wake with a sore back, stiff neck, and a strange buzzing in your ears. Your body is starting to fail, even though you've only been here a few days. You've never worked this hard. Never slept this little. Never felt this invisible. There's no time to rest. You walk to the bakery near the Sabura district, not for food, but because you heard they need help unloading grain. It's a rough part of town. Crime is high. But so is desperation. You're not the only one with empty pockets. The baker's wife eyes you skeptically. "Can you carry sacks?" she asks. You nod. Even though your shoulders ache. Even though your hands are blistered and your knees feel like they're filled with sand. The grain comes in from Egypt, the breadbasket. By midday, a fight breaks out in the alley. Two boys. Young. One pulls a knife. You step away from the cart just in time to see blood spray across the wall. One of them runs. The other crumples. No one calls for help. A few people glance over. Then return to work. You do the same. After the shift ends, you're handed 3 copper coins. You thank them and walk away slowly, your arms limp at your sides. You pass a public bathhouse on the way home. You smell it before you see it, warm steam, oils, perfumes trying to cover the human stench. You give in. You pay the entrance fee, strip naked, and walk into the tepidarium. The air wraps around you like a hot towel. You sit. You soak. You close your eyes for the first time all day. Men argue about politics nearby. Someone quotes Cicero. Another curses Emperor Vespasian. You stay silent. In the caldarium, the heat is overwhelming. You sweat out every bit of water you drank today. You scrub your skin with oil and scrape it off with a strigil. It feels like shedding a layer of yourself. You rinse in the frigidarium. Ice-cold water hits you like a fist. You gasp. Then you dress. And you walk home under a violet sky, stars flickering above ancient rooftops. You think, briefly, of your old life. And then the night swallows you again. The days blend. You work where you can, hauling, sweeping, feeding fires, running errands for men who don't know your name. Sometimes you go hungry. Sometimes you sleep outside. You learn the sounds of Rome, not the romantic symphony of history books, but the grinding, shrieking noise of carts, cries, bells, and bodies. You learn where to step, who to avoid, which alleys stay dry when the rains come. One day, a senator's litter passes by, 4 slaves carry a gilded chair, shaded by purple cloth. You freeze. Everyone does. His toga glows white, his sandals are gold, and his expression is carved from stone. He doesn't see you. That night, a friend you made, Marcus, a young man from the provinces, tells you about his uncle, who served in the legions. They give land, he says. After 20 years. You ask what the survival rate is. He shrugs. Depends where they send you. You lie awake thinking about it. Is the sword better than the sack? Maybe. Maybe not. Another day, you find yourself pulled into a funeral procession. You didn't mean to join, you were just walking, but now you're shoulder to shoulder with mourners, marching behind a masked man playing a dead ancestor. A drum beats. Incense stings your eyes. The body is paraded through the streets, face painted, arms outstretched. You hear wailing. Or maybe it's acting. In Rome, even grief is performance. You slip away before they reach the pyre. You can't watch. Later that week, the aqueducts are blocked. A landslide, they say. Water slows to a trickle. The public fountains dry. You buy a small amphora of water for half a day's wage. You use half to drink. The rest you boil, pour over your hands, and scrub the filth from your feet. You feel almost clean. Then the fever hits. You don't know where it came from. A sponge? A bite? A shared cup? It doesn't matter. You burn for 2 days. Sweat, chills, vomiting, visions. No healer will see you, not for your coins. You lie in the dark, babbling Latin. Prayers you barely remember. Someone feeds you vinegar wine. You sleep. You shake. You wake. And somehow, you survive. But something's different now. You walk slower. Your chest feels tight. Your breath is shallow. Rome hasn't killed you. But it's left a mark weeks pass. The city never stops. It churns, consumes, discards. You begin to understand why the old Romans built everything so large, so permanent. It's the only way to outlast the chaos. You hear news, uprisings in Germania. A new law about grain rations. A temple burned to the ground after lightning struck its roof. People whisper that the gods are angry. You don't care. You can't afford to. One morning, you're sweeping the steps of a merchant's villa. A girl walks by, a young, dressed in linen, carrying a basket of figures. She glances at you. Smiles. Just a flicker. And in that second, you remember you're human. Not just a laborer. Not just a body. That night, you dream of fields, of open land and fresh water. Of not waking up sore, or afraid. But dawn brings the same aching grind. You visit the temple of Mercury, god of travelers, traders, and thieves. You light a small candle and whisper a wish. You're not sure what you're asking for. Just something else. On your way out, a thief brushes your shoulder and vanishes. Your coin purse is gone. You curse. But quietly. This is Rome. Even the gods steal. By now, you stopped counting the days. Rome doesn't give you time. It takes it. Turns it into motion. Into smoke. Into history. You're not a hero. You're not a name anyone will remember. You're a shadow moving through marble streets, surviving one day at a time. But in that, you are Roman.